review. There are a lot of people that are now learning about Lumavitae.
Also hydrogen.
And there's a lot of people also have learned about hydrogen recently from the company EchoWater because of Gary Brecka and just making a lot of content, doing things out there. Now, hydrogen water has been around a while. There are maybe somewhere close to 2,000. Some people say 1,500, 1,800, whatever. A lot of great, amazing, miraculous, impressive studies. And a lot of them peer-reviewed as well. So in this video, we're actually going to compare a Lumavitae to the EchoGo, over here, this guy, on EchoWater. If you want to check out the product, I have a link in the description below, and also my email if you have further questions about what I go over in this video. You're always welcome to ask me questions anytime, and I do try to get to the comments below. You can leave it there, but if you want 100% sure that you're going to actually get a good answer, then just send me an email. There's always some extra information I can't share on a video. Happens a lot. All right, so let's get into it. So there is always a lot, I will tell you this, working in the industry now, having, set up close relationships with close to 140 different health product companies and medical device companies. You learn a lot getting to know different companies, individuals, experts that have worked with various manufacturers on the manufacturing end of things, and then on the front end, the companies that sell said products direct to consumers or direct to practitioners. You really got to be around a while and make relationships with people to learn a lot of, I would just call it inside information that on the outside, the end consumer, they're just not going to get. Okay, what are they going to get? They can look at the frequently asked questions. Like, there's a big difference in terms of that. So, I make these videos and I do what I do, and I consult with all kinds of people. And I also sell. As I said, I can sell all kinds of different things too. But I try to curate the best information I can and education on what really is a good value, what's a good ROI, right? What actually has efficacy, by sharing a lot of what I've learned along the way that is not, again, easy to come by unless you work in said product category and have worked with many of these companies. So let's get into it. First off, Lumavitae. It's an MLM company that purchased a factory in China, okay, before they really learned the value of hydrogen, okay? Why am I saying that? Okay, well, it's a sequence. There's a lot to know about hydrogen and devices that make hydrogen, and I say before they learned the value of hydrogen, because this company just came out not that long ago, and it is now common knowledge, okay, in the research field and just even the testimonial feedback aspect of things, that it is useful if you're drinking molecular hydrogen. So that means it's H2 gas dissolved under pressure in water. That's what that means when we say molecular hydrogen. When you drink it, there is some therapeutic improvement in outcomes if you have a stronger concentration. That means higher parts per million. Okay. Also, you'll see that statistic, ppm. Okay. So I say that they kind of got themselves stuck in purchasing the factory before they learned the value of hydrogen or became more experts, from the standpoint that this bottle doesn't produce a very high level. Does it produce enough to technically, medically, according to the research, produce a cascade signaling response that gives benefits to the body? That which has been, learned in the studies and research. Yes, it does. Okay. What do I mean? The minimum in terms of drinking hydrogen, that delivery, to create that cascade effect, that signaling effect, starting and what does this bottle actually produce? With independent testing, we say it's actually producing 0.8 parts per million to 1 part per million. 0.8 parts per million to 1 parts per million, okay? So that's important to note. Produce a stronger signaling cascade, again, starting from the gut, because obviously we're drinking water. It actually really even as absorbing through your esophagus and your mouth. But technically, the main start of the signaling happens in the gut. Is it stronger to produce? Is it possible to produce a stronger signal? Yes. A stronger signal equates to a higher concentration in what? Parts per million, right? ppm, inside of that water that you're drinking. Okay. So, like, what would be stronger? Instead of 0.5, as an example, 1.5 would be stronger, or 2, or 3, or 4. You get the idea. And it would just get a stronger signal. Now, that signaling cascade, by the way, it's very cool. It lasts 3 to 4 hours after consumption, even though all the detectable hydrogen has just moved completely through and out of your body. It still sets up that cascade of signaling. So it's a signaling gas. Your body works with various signaling gases, if you didn't know that. And they can be very therapeutic. Anyways, so yeah, so they're stuck with a bottle that is around 0.8 to 1. Isn't that fun? So is there a stronger one out there? Yes, there is. In fact, the strongest, as validated under third-party gas chromatography, is this one called the EchoGo Plus, from actually really kind of like the oldest original company that's been in the industry a long time, for anybody pretty much, making devices that split water and concentrate and create hydrogen-rich water. So you could almost point to any company, and they pretty much have tried to mimic and copy this company, which has locked up all of the best patents, by the way. So what does this produce? The EchoGo, this one here, produces, with a 5-minute cycle, 2.5 parts per million, significantly stronger than the Lumavitae. And you can go up to 4.5. How amazing is that? And you're like, oh my gosh, that's so strong. Well, guess what? In the fall, they're going to have another version of this that is has some additional features. Yeah. So that one's coming. Does it cost more? Yes, it does, if you're wondering. Okay. So if you're like, I can't spend any more than this, then, you know, forget about what's coming in the fall. But, you know, for what this is, and being able to produce that level of concentration, that is currently the best value way of working with hydrogen right now on the market. 4.5 is very strong. Okay, it's something that most people feel within the first couple doses of this. And you dose it, by the way, every few hours throughout the day, just so you know. Because remember, that signaling cascade lasts, what, 3 to 4 hours, right? So you kind of want to keep yourself going around the clock. So every 3 or 4 hours, you can make a cup. Anyways, so yeah, 4.5. So on the hydrogen end of things, which is really like, you want all these amazing benefits that it gives, your best route immediately right off the bat is, of course, going with an EchoGo, right? If you really want to get all those amazing hydrogen benefits. Okay, now, so if some people are like, but the Lumavitae has some other, you know, fancy sounding modalities. Well, first off, if you ever pulled one apart, you'll find there's magnets that are glued to the bottom of the generator, which is where the gases are created from. You know, magnets can help, you know, water in some ways, depending on how they're arranged. It's actually really complicated. It wasn't really easy to tell if they were really oriented and arranged properly. Really, magnets, just FYI. I deal with all kinds of water technologies, by the way. You can always reach out to me. I've looked at all kinds of water stuff for at least 10 years. You know, can magnets be set up in a certain way, configuration, with the proper vortexing, and, you know, where the magnets really can affect the water in more of a dramatic way? Yes, but again, they really shine or do their part when water is moving past them in a vortexed manner, and not even, and so that there's devices that do that, and then there's some that also are even a little more sophisticated that work with the magnets and with the spiraling movement of water, okay, under pressure, I might also add. And so we refer to that as just structuring units, and I've looked at all of those. So magnets really work best in that kind of scenario, not so much if you're just kind of parking water, filling it in a container and just kind of letting it sit there stagnant. It's not really quite as optimal for what magnets do. So that, in my personal opinion. So let's scroll down now, okay, and talk about. Oh, let me back up a second here. So their other way of encouraging people to purchase this is by name dropping and, of course, aligning themselves with, somebody that has a name, right? So Nuno Nina, if you don't know who that is, it's a fun name to say. Nuno Nina, where he really kind of got like a bigger visibility in the health space, and was through a company called Healy, an MLM company. And they produce these little devices that can, it's like a little guy you clip on, and you collect some electrodes and you clip them on your body, or there's a couple different ways. And my link, by the way, if you're curious about this device and you have more questions about this device, you can find my link below in the description. Nuno Nina partnered with this company in helping to create one of the programs and protocols that are in this microcurrent device. Now, yes, there is an attachment on this, came later, a transducer sort of antenna coil sort of thing that is sending a field, kind of like a PEMF almost in a way. It's sending a field, a magnetic field that is not microcurrent, but it originally started as purely a microcurrent technology. And that is exactly why they did want to partner with Nuno Nina, because, let's back up a second, because he has impacted over 70,000 patients. What does that mean, right? They love saying this here, right? Because it seems to lend credibility to this technology here, right? But really, when you look at, okay, what, 70,000 patients? Well, in his couple clinics, because you'll hear about this also from Healy, in his couple clinics, he has treated, and with his staff, close to that many people, probably more by now, with microcurrent therapy. Not with the Healy, just by the way, and not with a Lumavitae. Okay, this was he had other microcurrent equipment set up, and he still does, in his facilities. Okay, and that is what he's treating people in a very unique way. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so most of his research or his ability, or we would say like, hey, this guy's an expert. He's really more of an expert in terms of experience with utilizing specific microcurrent protocols. Certain frequency-specific FSM, okay, is the acronym you can look for, frequency-specific microcurrent, for treating specific conditions. Okay, and yeah, he's really, really good at it, and he gets good results in his clinics. Cool, good for him, right? Now, and it is nice, it is great that you can get a lot of those protocols inside of a Healy. And there is also a lot of additional protocols that were put into this that came from other places, not necessarily just Nuno Nina, just so you know. Okay. So if you're really into microcurrent, I would suggest, pursuing this device for many reasons. Okay. Why am I bringing this up? Okay, because now Nuno Nina is like the microcurrent guy. And yes, he does know specific frequencies from that are really good. And can you transmit them other ways? Sure, absolutely. So could you, for example, transmit them into water? Absolutely. Water does hold frequencies, does it pretty well. So that's basically what's going on here. Okay, so it's not exactly clear, like what specific frequencies are being put into the water. But there is some mention, let me see if I can find where it is on the website here. There is some talk about it being regenerative. I mean, realistically, whatever, like he found some primary frequencies that are like really good in his clinics for just like anybody. They're just like good, healthy frequencies, whatever, for regulating, helping the body stay more in balance. He probably grabbed a couple of those and they threw them in here. Okay, that would be my guess. All right. And so that's that. Okay. And then let's talk about other things. So first off, if you really want to get, so sidebar comment about Nuno Nina and microcurrent and frequency specific, benefits and stuff like that. I'd really suggest, if you're really into that and you really want to get the best outcomes possible with a wide variety of health goals, health conditions, you just actually pursue this device as a standalone. Okay. So we're kind of backing into like, is it worth getting, paying this $488 for something like this? Not really, when you could spend, it's fairly low cost, the base model of the Healy, and get Nina's a lot more of his protocols in the base model, I would suggest you go independently and actually pursue this, okay, for many reasons, versus getting it in this. Okay. Now we talk a lot about like the sun, all right, and the frequency, sun frequencies. I mean, it's really hard for me to believe in that. You know, like, how do you replace the sun? Okay, when we really get into it. Okay, so there's one company and one device, which I'm gonna have a review on my channel soon, which you can reach out to me, that actually replaces a specific wavelength of UVB that is able to give in 2 to 5 minutes the equivalent of 2 to 5 hours of sun exposure for that specific UVB wavelength. And to do what? To improve nitric oxide, neurotransmitters, and vitamin D synthesis. So there's a specific ideal UVB wavelength that does that. I'm not saying that's what's in here, by the way, but I'm just pointing out like there's a technology that does that. It took like $30 million or more and years to figure out, okay? Just for replicating, like being able to reproduce that effect in the body that you normally get in sun exposure through some artificial means, okay? That's how freaking complicated it was, right? So what do they have in here that's replicating something from the sun? You see what I'm saying? Now, if it was like, hey, there's red light, you know, sure, beam some red light in here. Yeah, I mean, all right. You know, there's a wide spectra of frequencies that come from the sun. You see what I'm saying? So like exactly what wavelengths correlated to exactly what metabolic processes, okay, on an immune system level are in here that you got from the sun, and how are you replicating those? You see what I mean? You really have to ask like hard questions like that to really get like, you know, like, does it sound cool? Like, what are you really accomplishing? Are you really, because I just told you like one of the more therapeutic aspects of the sun being that specific UVB, that was not an easy task to accomplish, to actually truly prove then that it's metabolically changing those things in your body. Nitric oxide, neurotransmitters, and vitamin D synthesis. Okay? So I can promise you, first off, you're not getting any of that in here, okay? That is normally quoted from the quote sun, okay? So what are you left with? Okay? Oh, you're left with red light? Okay, well, shining a red light in water is not going to be the same thing as getting red light on your skin when we start to get into red light therapy, photobiomodulation therapy, and hundreds of studies, really thousands with red light. It's a completely different method of administration where red has to be directly on your skin in order to signal the mitochondria and cell functions. It's different than drinking water that you've shown red light into. I'm just giving you an example. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm just trying to pick apart different spectra in the sun and figure out what the hell they're talking about here. Okay, but you're dealing with an MLM and a lot of it is about showmanship. I mean, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so you really got to kind of ask these questions, and usually when you ask enough questions, and here's the magnets, by the way, I probably should have shown you that before. But yeah, when you ask enough questions and stuff, you you just eventually don't get answers. That's just how it is. That's why I make these videos, so you can kind of like realize like what's, will really give you efficacy and what's just kind of like marketing and it just sounds really cool and they just want to differentiate themselves at the end of the day from other hydrogen related devices, right? It's really what it's about. And unfortunately for them, they're stuck with a low, potency, although technically, right, therapeutic, hydrogen-rich water generator. All right. And yes, that light on top, it does look kind of cool. Anyways, so let me just see what's under here under the light. Chromotherapy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can remember because they're cycling through some colors in the water, whatever. I'm not even going to bother picking that apart. I kind of already told you enough. Really, at the end of the day, like just making sure in the morning, there's plenty of information and content out there on optimizing circadian signaling. There's just never going to be a replacement for exposure of certain spectra directly to your skin, okay, and getting certain spectra into your eyes for certain structures in your brain that have adapted to getting that spectra in their eyes, okay? They did not adapt, okay, those structures in your brain and then the signal to your nervous system, neuroendocrine, they did not adapt to getting those spectra in water. Okay? Light is being received by light, receiving receptors, certain types of specialized cells in your body. Okay? You're not taking this bottle and dumping it in your eyes, are you? Okay, you see what I mean? You really got to like really discern this stuff. Where you're like, oh yeah, I guess, yeah, oh my gosh, that's right. Are there chromotherapy studies? Oh, hold on a second. Balm for the eyes. God, this is so confusing. Yeah, because it's like, this is why I do what I do. So, okay. So, I see this technique all the time with technologies. So they basically just to kind of explain a little bit about what I'm talking about, and yeah, for sure. We know a lot about light frequencies in the eyes and kind of how it signals different things. That is all true. But what does that have to do with this device? What does it have to do with this? How does all that research and all that efficacy and whatever and evolution with the brain, the eyes, whatever, circadian, what does that have to do with this? Just because they talk about this, okay, and just because this device has some colors from some LEDs, it doesn't necessarily correlate to chromotherapy research or how the sun works. Do you see what I'm saying? If it did correlate, they should prove it's correlated, correct? If they're going to, so this is what this is kind of, many companies do this. It's like they're making a claim, but they're also not, they're trying to get you, the consumer, to associate concepts in your mind that they're not necessarily making a specific claim about. Oh, chromotherapy, got it. Yeah, the eyes, that's a real thing. Yeah, it is, it's a real thing. Okay. And then you're thinking like, oh, and like I'm somehow getting that with this. No. You made that association. They didn't make that claim. Okay? See how tricky that is? But let's for a second say that they are making that claim. What's your job as a consumer before you spend $488? You have to call the company or message them and say, hey, can you prove any of this is correlated with your device? Can you prove that I'll get some of these benefits here? Or those benefits from the sun, the power of sunlight? And by the way, there definitely could be something too, if you really understand water and what it is, to structuring your water and then leaving it in the sun. You know, there definitely could be more provable physics right there, by the way. Okay, but that's not what they're talking about here, even when they talk about sunlight. Okay, so again, any of these are kind of like claims that aren't claims. You know, it's your job then to ask the questions. Okay, the only thing that EchoGo is claiming, okay, is they claim some health benefits that are associated with medical research that are correlated to what? The consumption of hydrogen-rich water that have to do with how concentrated, and again we measure that in parts per million, how concentrated that dissolved H2 hydrogen gas is, okay, in that water, in that dose that you're getting. Dose meaning what's in this bottle that you drink. And that's even further backed up by like, hey, if you just like, you know, make this 5-minute cycle and then you like leave it sitting around for a few hours, or unscrew the top and like leave it around for a few hours and then maybe drink it. They also have testing to say like, and instructions like, you know, that's not optimal. Like you're not going to get this specific dose, you know, hours later with the lid like partially undone. Okay. So it's very clear protocols correlate specifically to research when you're getting something like this through this company. Okay. So again, like when they say this right here, so this is also what do I advise, like when you make your cycle, it's not a lot of water, just chug the thing, okay? The minute you finish that and the timer goes off, drink it immediately. Now, if you're like, oh, I just want to sip it a little bit, okay, that's fine, but leave the top on, sealed, and when you're ready to drink it, you know, try to drink it within an hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Try to finish it, okay, if you can, within that period of time. Ideally, chug it immediately because you want the full maximum potency of that before the hydrogen escapes, because it's the smallest molecule, and believe me, it will escape. That's why even with it sealed at the top, the hydrogen really literally just goes through the material. It just passes right through it like magic. Okay? So Anyways, I hope that that's a thorough enough comparison video between these two. I could even go into more details and pick apart, okay, on a manufacturing level, like what are the components that are in here that they use. Okay, I could pick apart the PEM membrane. Okay, that's what actually separates the oxidants and other gases from the hydrogen. You could pick apart that. You could pick apart the platinum coated titanium. You could pick that apart. There's other things we could, but I think I should just end the video here. So what do I advise? I think it's kind of obvious by now. Okay, the company that really started it all around the world in terms of hydrogen-rich water. And you'll find my link below in this video. If you've enjoyed it, if you have questions, leave them below. Please do a thumbs up if you can, and you're welcome to subscribe to my channel.